Blood doesn't belong on sun-silvered cottonwood, yet there it is, fresh, red, and glistening like varnish under the high plains heat. Samuel Cross sees the smear as he tightens a replacement rail along the southern fence line of his ranch. 9 silent summers after he swore the world would never disturb him again. Wind hums through buffalo grass, cicadas tick. Nothing else moves until he follows the blood trail. 10 paces farther, a human form slumps against the fence post. A young woman, dress shredded, corset laces snapped, brown hair caked with clay and something darker. Her left flank pulses scarlet through torn calico. For a heartbeat, Sam considers turning away. Pain that isn't his has no claim here. Then her eyelids flicker, revealing eyes the color of prairie amber. She tries to breathe without crying out, fails. Sam rests his Winchester in the crook of one arm, crouches at a wary distance. Name? The answer comes as a rasp. Isabel Hayes. They're behind me. 3, maybe 4. Wind carries the dull thump of distant hooves, small but real. She forces the next words. Luther Briggs and his men. Red Quarry. I saw them kill the Miller family. For copper. Her fingers tighten on a leather-bound ledger clutched to her chest. Pages flutter, covered in columns of assay numbers. Sam's gut knots. He knows Red Quarry, a ramshackle mining camp 40 miles south where lawman and outlaw drink from the same glass. If Briggs murdered for ore samples, this ledger is motive, confession, and death warrant in one. Isabel's head lolls. Blood beads at her lips. Sam weighs 9 years of hard-won isolation against the ruin in her gaze. He remembers another afternoon, a blaze, a scream, a wife and unborn child lost while neighbors haggled over rumors. No one had crossed a yard to help him. He was left to bury ash in silence. The memory tastes like gun oil. He stands. Decision slices cleaner than any scalpel. You move, can you? He asks. Leg works. Breath, not so much. Sam steps in, scoops her weight, lighter than fear itself, and strides for the ranch house. The Winchester dangles from his shoulder. With each boot fall, he counts the hoofbeats on the wind. 1 rhythm becomes 2, then 4. The killers are closing. Inside, dusk pools in plank-gapped walls. A braided rug covers an iron ring trapdoor beside the stove. Sam kicks the rug aside, heaves the hatch. Isabel's eyes widen at the shadowed ladder descending to a bunker stocked with jars, jerky, and the Colt Navy he keeps for coyotes. 2-legged ones included. He lowers her onto the top rung. Pain draws a hiss through her teeth. Bandages down there, he says. Water in the keg. Stay put, no matter what you hear. She grips his wrist, surprising strength in blood-slick fingers. Why trust a stranger? Sam meets her gaze. The silence between them lasts a single heartbeat. Just long enough for you, listening now to ask yourself, would I stake my peace on someone I met under a bloodstain? He answers her the way he answers you. Because I remember needing a stranger once, and no one came. Before she can reply, he slides the hatch closed. The cellar swallows her. He drags the rug back, masks the seam. Outside, hooves drum louder. Urgent, confident, predatory. 4 silhouettes crest the far ridge, sunlight spearing through dust clouds around them. Lead Rider wears a brim-low hat and a duster the red clay color found only in Red Quarry. Sam chambers around, metallic snap echoes off pine walls. The rifle's weight feels like an oath renewed. He takes a long breath, tasting sage and gunpowder memory, then steps onto the porch into the dying light. The riders fan out, dust roiling under iron-shod hooves. You can almost feel the air tighten, can't you? In less than a minute, Luther Briggs will call out, and Samuel Cross will choose between a lie that might save his skin and a truth that could cost him everything he has left. Which path would you gamble on when killers ride and a bleeding witness hides beneath your floor? The porch plank creaks under Sam's boot. He squares his shoulders, rifle low but ready, waiting for the first word, or the first bullet, whichever breaks the silence fastest. Hooves grind to a halt 30 paces from Samuel Cross's porch, scattering dust over the sage. 4 riders arrange themselves with practiced precision. two fanning wide, a third hanging back with a Henry across his saddle horn, and the lead man easing forward. Luther Briggs' scarred lip and red clay duster match the mud caked on his boots, mud that only forms in Red Quarry Gulch, the same clay darkening Isabel Hayes's torn hem beneath Sam's kitchen floor. Briggs lifts his hat in mock courtesy. "Fine evening, Cross. Shame we have to spoil it." "Depends what you call spoiling," Sam replies, rifle balanced low and steady. "Tracking a teacher gone bad," Briggs continues. "Stole company papers. Worth money and lives. Bleeding. Desperate. Ride through here?" The lie sticks like sand on Sam's tongue. "Ain't seen a soul in weeks." Even as he speaks, he knows the trap is closing. Briggs's gaze flicks to a faint smear of dried blood Sam missed beneath a porch post. A smile curls into place. Behind him, Cole Jarrett, lean as wire, drops from his saddle and sniffs the air. Virgil Snow, thick-shouldered despite a limp, rolls his Henry to half-cock. Young Wade Ferris jitters atop his horse, eyes ricocheting across the yard. "Dust plays tricks at sundown," Sam adds. Briggs plants one boot on the porch step. Sam's thumb grazes the Winchester's safety stud. One squeeze might drop Briggs, but Jarrett's rifle covers the porch. Snow angles for the door, and Ferris has buckshot ready to chew the windows. Isabel and everything she carries lie beneath the floor in the line of fire. In the root cellar, Isabel presses cotton to her wound, listening as boards creak overhead. The Colt Navy rests in her lap. She counts the rounds, 5, and wonders how many answers a school teacher can buy with half a cylinder. "Mind if we stretch our legs?" Briggs asks, brushing past Sam before the question cools in the air. Jarrett strides toward the barn, spurs clicking. Snow limps toward the chicken coop. Feathers drift as birds scatter. Ferris studies the water trough, eyes sliding over plank seams. Briggs runs a finger over the blood stain, rubs it between thumb and forefinger, enjoying the tacky feel. "Fresh," he murmurs. Sunset bleeds tangerine behind him, haloing dust. Jarrett calls from the barn, waving a winter saddle blanket. "Wet spots, boss. Looks like blood." Briggs's smile widens. "Coyotes around here bleed just like womenfolk." He plants his second boot on the porch. Beneath the boards, Isabel steadies her breathing. The Colt trembles but stays aimed at the trap door, its iron sight glinting in the half-dark. Ferris speaks up from the trough. "Tracks here, small feet. Ends by the porch." Snow adds from the coop. "More blood along the boards." The air tightens. Briggs's hand settles on his Colt, slow and sure. Sam edges sideways, blocking the line of sight to the trapdoor. "Told you," Sam says, voice low. "Only coyotes pass my gate, and they don't knock." Briggs cocks his head, listening harder. Inside, Isabel bites her tongue to keep silent. The floor seems to breathe with her heartbeat, loud to both of them. "Peace is a fragile thing," Briggs says softly. "Some men guard it harder than truth. How about we settle both?" He reaches for the door. Sam angles his rifle a hair higher. Dust motes dance between them, backlit by the sinking sun. Jarrett appears at the edge of Sam's vision, Henry leveled. Ferris loosens his shotgun from its scabbard. Snow, half hidden by the coop, draws a bead toward the window. Any breath could fracture the moment. Jarrett calls out again. "Trail ends here, boss. Blood on the doormat." Briggs's eyes lock on Sam's, pupils hard as flint. Time stretches so thin, Sam swears he hears Isabel's heartbeat through the floor. The porch seems to pulse beneath his boots, a living thing deciding whose blood it will know next. One man holds a secret under his floorboards. Another smells it in the dust. The sunset slips behind the ridge. Shadows lengthen, and the final sliver of light glints off Briggs's drawn Colt. Whatever peace Samuel Cross forged over 9 long years stands balanced on that sliver. One flicker of metal, one heartbeat, and the silence will break forever. Briggs's Colt clears leather with a hiss of oiled steel. In the same breath, Sam's Winchester rises from hip to shoulder. One crack splits the dusk. Sam's shot. The rifle bucks. Briggs stumbles sideways, hat spinning into the yard. The bullet misses bone but slices the scarred man's earlobe, searing hot blood across his collar. Jarrett flinches. Too slow. Sam's second round punches through the gun hand's chest before the Henry reaches firing height. Jarrett folds into the dust, eyes wide at a sky already dimming. Chickens explode into frantic wings, feathers snowing on the yard. Snow reacts first, dragging Briggs behind the stock trough for cover. Ferris bolts to the well wall, shotgun clenched against his jittering ribs. Gunfire rattles from both directions. Porch posts splinter around Sam, wood shards slicing his cheek. Below the floor, Isabel jacks back the Colt's hammer, counting beats of terror overhead. The trapdoor shudders with each rifle report. She pictures Briggs's leer, the miller's blood, the copper numbers in her ledger, remembers why she ran. Pain lances her side, but fear tastes sharper. She grips the ladder. Up top, Sam knows the porch will not survive a three-gun fusillade. He crouches behind a cedar bench, mind-mapping angles. His Winchester holds 3 rounds. Briggs's men have dozens between them. The barn, 30 yards of open ground away, hides 2 sticks of dynamite aging beneath a tool chest. Dynamite could finish this. Dynamite requires a run no sane man makes under fire. Snow's Henry booms. A slug blows through the window beside Sam, glass spraying into the kitchen. Briggs's voice rasps over the trough. Cross, toss out the girl and ledger. Walk away breathing. Sam spits dust. You first. He fires again, forcing Snow to duck. The shot ricochets off the water pump. Ferris, nerve shot, unleashes both barrels blindly. Buckshot peppers the porch steps. Wooden planks jump like tapped drums. Inside, the ladder creaks. Isabel pushes the hatch with her good hand, shoulders it open. Light knifes down, revealing the Colt. Sam's heart lurches. Back under, he shouts. No! She drags herself onto the kitchen floor, pale but fierce. You saved me! My turn! A bullet punches through the front door, winds into the stove. Isabel flinches, then crawls behind toppled pantry crates, eyes level with the shattered window. She steadies the Colt on a flour-dusty shelf. Sam breathes once, deciding. He calls, Keep their heads low. Isabel nods, jaw clenched. He unbolts from cover, dashes down the porch steps into open yard. Gunfire erupts. Snow's Henry, Briggs's Colt, Ferris fumbling for fresh shells. Isabel fires, her first shot cracking the coupe door inches from Snow's face. The limping gunman jerks back, aim ruined. Her second slug smashes the Wells bucket pulley, sending sparks and distraction toward Ferris. The young rider cusses, drops a shell, scrambles. Sam runs like every bad memory burns at his heels. Dust kicks under his boots. Bullets tear earth beside him. 20 yards, 15. Glass explodes behind. Smith & Wesson rounds from Briggs, whistling past Sam's shoulder. He hits the barn wall and rolls inside a haze of hay dust and gun smoke. He counts fingers, still attached. In gloom, he finds the tool chest, yanks the lid. 2 sticks of dynamite, fuses coiled like sleeping serpents, rest among rusted spikes. He pockets a match tin. Back at the house, Isabel reloads with shaking hands. She parts the curtains long enough to see Briggs, wrapping a rag round his bleeding ear. Their gazes lock across 40 feet of twilight. Briggs's mouth shapes a promise. Isabel answers with lead, sending a slug through the trough rim, water splashing Briggs's boots. Snow curses, squeezes the Henry. The kitchen window frame explodes, showering her with shards. She doesn't retreat. In the barn, Sam strikes a match with his thumbnail. Phosphor flares, sulfurous. He touches it to both fuses, counts 1, 2, then sprints. Fuses hiss behind him, bright snakes shortening. Snow spots movement, pivots the Henry. Isabel fires first, slug ripping the gunman's thigh. Snow collapses, screams strangled. Briggs turns just as Sam clears the open. Sam hurls the first stick. It arcs over the trough, lands behind Briggs. Second stick follows, skittering toward the well, and Ferris. Briggs dives, yelling, Move! Ferris freezes, eyes pinning on the sputtering fuse between his boots. Sam hits the dirt, arms shielding head. Twin thunderclaps slam the evening. Fireball, then concussion. Heat rolls across the yard, sucking wind from lungs. When the ringing eases, the yard smells of black powder and wet earth. The trough lies in shards, water soaking the dust. Snow crawls, trail of blood behind. Ferris's hat spins near a smoking crater, its owner nowhere visible. Briggs, coated in mud, drags himself toward a discarded revolver, left arm hanging useless. Sam chambers his final round, steps forward, blood and dust streaking his face. Isabel emerges through the doorway, Colt steady despite trembling wrists. The search that began with polite words ends in silence, broken only by Briggs's ragged breathing and distant thunderheads gathering on the horizon. The first clash is over, but the night has miles yet to run, and Samuel Cross's porch will never be quiet again. Smoke lingers in the yard, twining with the scent of pulverized sage. Charred splinters float on cooling air. Samuel Cross steps past the waterlogged crater, rifle trained on the lone shape still capable of malice. Luther Briggs sprawled against a half-shattered trough, left sleeve burned away, shoulder oozing dark blood. His right hand inches toward a revolver buried under mud and feathers. Sam plants a heel on the polished grip. "Move again, you lose the hand," he says. Briggs's laugh rattles like gravel in his throat. "Loose with dynamite, Cross. Law won't fancy that." "Law hasn't fancied you since Red Quarry started feeding the river bodies," Sam answers, eyes cut to the barn. Virgil Snow lies unconscious where Isabel's bullet and the blast dropped him. Wade Ferris is gone, either ash in the crater or dust on the horizon. Sam assumes the latter. An escaped gun hand means fresh trouble galloping this way. Behind Sam, the porch groans. Isabel Hayes descends the steps, Colt firm despite the tremor in her fingers. Her side is crimson again, bandage soaked through. Moonlight turns her face bone white. Briggs smirks up at her. "Schoolmarm with teeth. Give me that ledger, girl. May save what's left of you." Isabel's voice trembles but holds. "You murdered the Millers for lines of copper ink. You'll face court." "Court!" Briggs spits blood. "Red Quarry owns every judge for 100 miles. Sam presses harder on the revolver. "Sheriff Randall doesn't sell easy." He turns to Isabel. "We need Randall before Ferris rides back with a dozen rifles." Isabel nods, pain tightening her jaw. Together they drag Briggs into the kitchen, shove Snow beside him, and lash both with harness rope. The two men sit back to back like broken marionettes, boots tied, wrists cinched. Briggs's shoulder wound seeps, but the gleam in his eyes never dims. Sam wedges a chair under the front door knob as a makeshift bar. Isabel slumps at the table, breath short. Sam uncorks a glass bottle of carbolic. She bites down on a strip of rawhide while he flushes the torn flesh. She never makes a sound, though sweat beads on her lip. When the bandage is tight, Sam loads the Colt for her. 5 rounds again, cylinders snapping home. He lifts the ledger, pages rustling. Assay reports, dates, Briggs's signature. Enough to end several lives or save them. Isabel watches his face. "It's proof," she whispers, "but proof needs law." Sam crosses to the shuttered window, peers east. A sliver of rose stains the horizon. False dawn. Over distant hills rides a thin ribbon of dust. 1 horse, maybe 2, sprinting hard. "Ferris," Sam mutters. That gives them less than an hour. He wraps a kerchief around his wounded cheek, grabs a length of rope, and drags Briggs upright. "On your feet." The outlaw staggers but obeys, Isabel keeping the Colt steady. Sam marches Briggs outside into violet pre-dawn. Cool air hums with crickets and the far-off ball of restless cattle. They lash Briggs to the hitching post where the clay shows his earlier footprints. Ironic justice. Next, Sam saddles his roan gelding. Isabel steps forward. "You'll ride alone?" she asks. "Faster that way." He presses the ledger into her hands. "If I'm not back by full sun, burn this place to the ground before Briggs's friends do worse." Her eyes widen, then steel. "If you fall, I'll still testify." Sam nods. In the doorway, Snow groans awake. Briggs smiles, teeth red. "Run, Cross. You'll die on the trail." "Maybe," Sam answers, swinging into the saddle, "but not before I buy sunrise." Hooves drum as he charges north, racing the paling sky toward the county road and the sheriff's patrol circuit. Wind tears at his hat brim, stings his cut cheek, but the roan stretches into a ground-eating lope. Coyotes yip in the gray distance. Sam counts heartbeats. 1 heartbeat for the fire that killed his family. one for each silent year since, another for the life bleeding in his kitchen he refuses to let history repeat. After 20 minutes, the eastern hillside breaks open, revealing two riders inbound, Sheriff Amos Randall and a deputy, rifles across pommels. Sam waves the Winchester overhead, reins curving dust. Randall pulls up. Cross? Thought you aimed to die of boredom, not bullets. Bullets came looking first, Sam answers and thrusts a quick story. Miller's murdered, witness hiding, outlaw tied. Randall's jaw sets hard. I've heard copper rumors. Lead us. They pivot south at a gallop. Morning births light behind them, shadows shrinking with every stride. Sam's heart pounds with hoofbeats. The line of his porch appears on the horizon, and more dust to the west. Ferris returning, 6 riders strong. Randall barks, "Cut left, flank them." The 3 split, Sam racing straight for the ranch to shield Isabel. Sheriff and deputy veer to intercept Ferris's posse. Rifles crack across open grass, sunrise flashing on barrels. Sam thunders into the yard. Isabel stands on the porch, Colt raised, blood seeping anew but posture unbroken. Briggs spits curses from the hitching post, Snow barely conscious at the doorway. Sam dismounts, covering the porch as Randall's voice carries from the ridge. "Posse, drop iron or drop dead." Gunfire replies, then silences. Dust settles. Ferris and his men lie prone or kneel, hands raised. Deputy gathers weapons. Randall trots in, eyes sweeping scene. Briggs tied, Snow wounded, Sam bleeding, Isabel rigid with pain, yet standing. The sheriff tips his hat. "Well," he says, "looks like some justice got started without me." He reaches for the ledger Isabel extends. "Let's finish the rest in court." Sam exhales the breath he's held since sunset. The yard suddenly quiet except for the creak of rope and distant larks saluting a brand new sun. Sheriff Randall orders the captured gunmen lashed to the supply wagon, hands crossed behind their backs. Sunlight climbs, turning gun smoke haze to gold. Luther Briggs glares at Samuel Cross as deputies cinch rope across his ruined shoulder. "You'll hang," Sam says, voice flat as the plane. Briggs grinds out a laugh. "I'll buy stairs to march back down." Randall answers for him. "Not with what we found in that ledger. Territory judge arrives in 3 days. Trials start the next sunrise." Briggs's grin withers. Isabel sways on the porch. Blood stains the fresh bandage. Her strength evacuates with the adrenaline. Sam catches her before she crumples, carries her past the kitchen wreckage into the narrow bedroom that once belonged to a future he'd buried. She murmurs half-dazed thanks. He brushes hair from her damp brow, then forces himself away. Horses need watering, bodies require graves. Bullet holes gape in every wall. Deputies dig a pit near the north fence for Virgil Snow. Jarrett lies already shrouded at its edge. Sam, shovel in hand, finds dirt forgiving after the night's violence. When the final clods fall, he says a wordless prayer for men who chose greed and met iron. Randall camps the prisoners under guard. That evening, he drafts affidavits by lamplight while Sam patches splintered porch posts. Isabel sits beside the ledger, copying key pages in her tight schoolmarm script, one set for court, one to stay safe at the ranch. 3 days later, Pecos Junction courtroom, air thick with sawdust and eager whispers. Sam stands at the rear, hat in hand. Isabel, left arm in sling, steps onto the witness platform. She recounts the Miller's murder, Briggs's boast of a copper strike, the chase across miles of scrub, the siege at Cross Ranch. Her voice never falters. When she produces the ledger, jurors lean forward as though the numbers shout guilt. Defense counsel sputters about trespass and dynamite, but Sheriff Randall's testimony locks each chain. Wade Ferris, terrified of the rope, turns state's evidence, confirming every line. Verdicts arrive before the sun dips. Briggs and Jarrett's estate convicted posthumously, Snow buried in felon's dirt. Ferris spared the gallows, but sentenced to decades labor. Briggs receives death by hanging. Outside the courthouse, Isabel inhales free air that seems lighter than she remembered. Reporters cluster. She waves them off and turns to Sam. "It's done," she says, voice softly stunned. For a moment, neither moves. The gavel's echo still rings in their bones. Sam tips his hat. Law finished what you started. She studies him. What we started. Autumn paints the plains tawny and amber. Cross Ranch bears scars. A crater where the trough once stood. New shutters over bullet-bitten windows. Fresh cedar planks gleaming on the porch. Laughter now drifts across the yard. Half a dozen ranch hands' children seated at rough-hewn desks inside the converted bunkhouse. Isabel's chalk scratches sums while prairie wind rattles the stovepipe. At lunch break, the children scatter. Isabel steps into sunlight, finds Sam replacing fence wire beyond the cottonwoods. She crosses the yard, skirt brushing cured grass. He sets pliers on a post, wipes sweat with a sleeve. Official enrollment 6, she says, but words traveled. Might be 12 by spring. Good, Sam answers. Land needs new voices. She looks toward the fresh marker near the cottonwood, one for the Miller family, carved with their names, though their bodies rest elsewhere. Wild sunflowers bloom at its base, seeds she scattered weeks earlier. Do you ever regret lighting that fuse? Sam's gaze follows hers. No. He tests the wire tension. Regret not lighting it sooner, maybe. She smiles at the dry humor, then winces, wound still knitting. Sam notices, drops the tool, and offers his arm. They walk toward the porch where 2 rocking chairs wait, one newly crafted. From its seat, the horizon rolls unbroken to distant mesas, sky immense and clean. Sam rests the Winchester across the doorframe, oiled, untouched since that dawn. Still think the law will come knocking? Isabel asks. If it does, the door's open, he says. But I don't plan on firing that rifle again unless the planes turn upside down. A breeze lifts the edge of her skirt. She settles into the new chair. He lowers beside her. The rebuilt porch doesn't creak. Cedar holds firm. Evening climbs blue to lavender while meadowlarks trade fading songs. Somewhere a calf bawls for its mother. Somewhere farther, train whistles promise distant futures. Isabel clasps her hands in her lap. You gave me more than shelter, Samuel Cross. You gave me back the sound of another voice. They sit in companionable silence until stars memory bright prickle overhead. Coyotes yip at the rising moon, but the music feels harmless. Part of the living landscape, not a threat. 9 years of grief sink beneath the prairie's vast quiet. New chapters write themselves in hoofbeats, chalk dust, and laughter. On the horizon, tomorrow gathers like dawn's first rose streak, and 2 people who once measured life by loss now measure it by what they choose to build. Together, under open sky that finally feels like home.